up, everybody? So, here we go. We're at the long end of the long stretch of Friday the 13th movies. Jason X, released in 2002, directed by Jim Isaac. Rest in peace. And I know technically it's not a Friday the 13th movie, it's a Jason movie, as a lot of people like to say if you want to be dicks about it. But to me, it's got Jason in it. It's Friday and Jason, so really, who gives a fuck? Does it really fucking matter? No, it doesn't. This one's going to be a lot like Jason Goes to Hell as far as defense review of it, because this is another one that people seem to shit on a lot whenever it's brought up in conversation over in Killer Flicks or any horror group, especially a Friday the 13th group. It's kind of like people are like, oh god, here we go again with this motherfucker. But let me explain. Jason X is probably the strangest and most bizarre, different installment into the franchise. Way fucking more stranger than Jason Goes to Hell, because this one don't even take place in Crystal Lake. It don't even take place in the real world, you might as well say. It takes place in another world, in outer space. They're not even at Earth yet. Like, this movie starts out, I think, on Earth 1, and then it fast forwards 450 fucking years into the future, and they're on board this space station called Grendel, who is going through the wreckage, of Earth 1 and trying to recover anything from the past that could be useful in the future. And that's where they find Jason frozen in cryogenic stasis, along with a survivor, Rowan, the final girl in this one, Lexa Doig. I think I'm saying her name right. And she's a pretty badass final girl in this. By far, probably one of the strongest out of this franchise. I would put her up there with Jenny and Tina, definitely, because Rowan kicked some serious ass in this, and she survived a machete stab from Jason at the beginning of the movie, and this one has a lot to offer too that people don't really appreciate or think about. You had state-of-the-art, unique ways of bringing people back to life that were hurt or injured or killed, bringing back severed limbs that they lost from slices of the machete or whatever, any kind of damage they sustained. They had nanotechnology of the future that hasn't been seen yet or hasn't been thought of yet in our world, our society, which probably is being made right now at this moment, but we're just not able to get it yet. So I'm really hoping we have some shit like that in the future, because I gotta tell you, man, if they have some shit in the future where when you lose a fucking arm or you get your leg cut off or any fucking part of you gets removed from you, and you can go into a lab and they just place your arm on a fucking table and have some little bugs and shit crawl over there and reattach your shit just like that. That's fucking awesome. That's phenomenal. That's a fucking medical breakthrough. I mean, that's cool ass shit, man. That's some awesome shit. And a lot of people are like, well, this movie's too sci-fi. It's way too out there. It doesn't resemble the Friday the 13th formula and all that. And I'm just like, fuck all that noise, okay? It's different. It's unique. It's special as it is. Doesn't need to be all the other Friday the 13th movies. That's what makes it better. You don't want to see the same shit over and over and over ad nauseum. It just gets old, it gets boring. And I know what they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but that don't mean you can't go outside the box every once in a while and deliver something different. Like, shit, man. I mean, damn, you get tired of seeing the same shit over and over. And with Jason X, you don't get that. You get something very fucking bizarre and different. And I mean bizarre in a good way, because you get two different versions of Jason in this. You get the regular, original style Jason, who looks badass in this. Kane Hodder, like I said, this was his last performance as Sane. You get that last performance from Kane Hodder out of the Friday the 13th film with this one. And I hated the fact that this was his last movie, because I really wanted him to keep going on with the franchise. Unfortunately, we didn't get him in Freddy vs. Jason, but I'll get into that when I get to that movie. I have a lot to say about the things I didn't like about that fucking movie. It'll be short and sweet, but you might not like it. So, be ready for that. Yeah, so like I said, you get two different versions of Jason in this. You have the classic Crystal Lake Jason, wearing the classic gray pants, gray shirt, and a fucked up, awesome looking straight jacket that we see him in at the beginning of the movie, because he's awaiting cryogenic stasis. They've already tried killing him numerous times over the years. When he was captured in 2008, I believe is what year they said it was. 2008, 2003, something like that. And they tried the firing squad, they tried hanging him, they tried everything. But Jason has the same regen factor that Wolverine has and Deadpool has. So no matter what kind of amount of damage you sustain to him, he's gonna come back. He's gonna keep crawling. You know, you could chop him up and burn him to little bitty ass pieces. The pieces are still gonna come after you. It doesn't really matter. Jason is unstoppable. He's the fear of untimely death, is what I'm saying. And you get Cyborg Jason, Uber Jason. Now, Uber Jason is fucking awesome. That just screams badass because he looks so damn cool. And they use parts to make his suit out of actual parts they use for bumpers for cars. You know, interestingly enough, the parts they use for the cybernetic part of him is the same material they use on bumpers in cars. So I thought that was pretty damn cool. And it's a one-piece suit that zips up in the back, so Kane could step in and out of it at any time. And it wasn't like having to go through the arduous task of sitting in a makeup chair for an hour or having prosthetic appliances applied to you when he does regular Jason. Old school Jason is what I'll refer to him as. And speaking of old school, there's a throwback in this movie where Jason walks into a virtual reality world and the surviving group of kids that's trying to, well, they're not really kids, but you get what I'm saying. Young fuckers in this that are trying to survive and run from him, they fuck with his head and they make him think that he's in a virtual reality version of Crystal Lake. And it's called Virtual 80s on the DVD. And that part was awesome. That was pretty clever. I like that. That shit was pretty cool because it fucks with Jason's head and he's like looking around like, what the fuck is this shit? He's confused, you know, because one minute he's in a fucking Star Wars looking shit and the next thing he's at Crystal Lake. So he's like, hold the fuck up. I ain't high. Like, what the hell's going on here, you know? And then you got them throwback to the 80s campers. There's two hot ass babes. They're smoking fucking hot. And they're like, hey, you want to drink a beer? You know, do you want to do me? You know, this other guy just did me, but you can do me too. And we can smoke some pot or have premarital sex. We love premarital sex. You know, and Jason's just like, I'm going to kill these horny bitches. So, you know, he goes over there, he takes care of business, and he bashes them to fucking death, and he throws back to the original sleeping bag death in part 7, the New Blood, which is another reason why I love that one. Because they do the sleeping bag death in this, but you get twice the death, twice the sleeping bags, and he bashes one to death with the other one, and just finishes them off. There was some other good characters in this besides Rowan. You had Brodsky, this black guy, badass motherfucker, though. He kicked ass. He sacrificed himself for everyone to take Jason out at the end. He was pretty cool. He was like the head of the Grunts, the military unit in this. And I'll say this movie right here does remind me of Leprechaun 4 in space. It has a lot of similarities to it. There's a lot of parallels between Leprechaun 4 and Jason X if you look at it, because Leprechaun was the monster that they were trying to kill in Leprechaun 4, and they had an army unit in that. They got an army unit in this. And there's certain characters and elements from part 4 of Leprechaun that correlates to this one. There's a scene where this one grunt soldier is on the run from Jason and he's trying to kill him. And he manages to get Jason hooked on some kind of mechanical hook or some shit that they were using for weaponry or something. And the Sergeant Brodsky tells him, don't move, I'll be there in a minute. He's like, don't worry, Sarge, he ain't going nowhere. Jason jumps the fuck off, takes his machete, and slices that motherfucker in half by the waist. Now in Leprechaun 4, there's a scene where one of the soldiers is on a walkway, a catwalk, and Leprechaun has her hanging off the balcony, off the guardrail, and she's about to fall to her death. And, you know, they told her, stay where you are. And because she just shot Leprechaun and blew his ass up before that happened. And she's like, oh, don't worry, Sarge, I got this. Leprechaun comes right back, knocks her ass off of it, you know, and plays some kind of sick game with her, and then he knocks her off to her death. So my point is, there's a lot of similarities between Leprechaun 4 and Jason X. If you haven't noticed that, go back and watch Leprechaun 4 and then watch Jason X, and let me know what y'all think in the comments. The music in this, it's pretty much the same music as Jason Goes to Hell. It has the same kind of tone, same kind of sound. It's revamped a little bit for that space, you know, sci-fi feel to it, but it's still awesome. It's still good. I still liked it. And the third act is nothing but action and carnage candy. And there's a robotic chick that's an android that has no nipples. And I heard that really that was real. She really didn't have no nipples. She was getting work at a circus or something when they got her in this movie. So Who knows? But I thought she had some nice boobs even without nipples. I didn't really give a shit. There was some weird, crazy sex shit in this, as there was in Jason Goes to Hell. The professor in this, he likes getting his nipples pinched with a fucking wire pliers or some kind of metal implements that you use for some other ungodly reason, but he for some reason wants his nipples squeezed, and it was just fucking weird and creepy. I didn't understand that. He was wearing a negligee. He was either a closet gay dude or just really into some weird, freaky BDSM shit. So hey, I'm not judging, just good weird shit. But there's some good deaths in this. Besides the sleeping bag death, there's the nitroglycerin death, or whatever that shit is. They freeze the girl's head into it and bashes it on the fucking counter. Jason also gets into another virtual reality part where he kills these two stoners. They're playing a virtual reality game, and then when they're out of the game mode, they think that Jason is still in the game, but he's actually in reality. And he grabs one, snaps his fucking back in two, and smashes the other one that looks like Stone Cold Steve Austin against the fucking wall. There's just all kind of cool shit in this. People don't realize it when they talk shit about it, because there's all kinds of stuff in Jason X that has to offer. And it kind of ends on a cliffhanger when they go to Earth 2, after they've survived the explosion of Grendel, and they damn near got killed by Jason, but Brodsky sacrificed himself by burning into the Earth's atmosphere. And you see the hockey mask, the new Uber Jason hockey mask, float to the bottom of Crystal Lake. And these two campers decide, hey, let's go check it out. And we don't get to see what happened after that, but it's left with that badass shot of the mask just sitting there at the bottom of the lake. So I wish we could have got more of Uber Jason in future films, but it wasn't meant to be. But my point is, Jason X is an underrated movie, and it's nostalgic for me because I saw it when I was 12 years old in the theater, and I loved it ever since. So not really too much negative I can say about this, but anyways, that's my thoughts on Jason X. I'll try to get to the Friday the 13th remake at some point this week, if not next week. My throat is still healing from the surgery I had this past weekend, so it took everything I had to get through Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X. So after this, I'm going to take a break for a few days and try to get back to it. But anyways, y'all, as always, God bless you and have a great week, and I'll see y'all later.